The car stopped. Rebecca did not move and waited until the driver got out and opened the door for her. The driver hurriedly walked around the car and gave the young woman his hand. Rebecca did not even thank him. She was deeply convinced that the servants were not worthy of respect. Rebecca was only 18 years old, but she was used to acting like a queen. Her father, Gregory, was a very rich man and owned an entire network of restaurants. Rebecca's mother left this world very early. Severe illness left her no chance, and money did not help. After the death of his wife, Gregory did not marry again, bringing up his daughter by himself. Today, Rebecca came to one of her father's restaurants. She was to meet a friend there. The courteous receptionist politely bowed and escorted the woman to a special VIP table. The waiter, a new employee whom she had not seen before, arrived less than a minute later. His name tag said Michael. Rebecca sparingly looked at the man and told him to bring some mineral water and, of course, a long-stemmed glass. A couple of minutes later, Rebecca's friend, Esther, came over. She was also from a rich family. After all, Rebecca was not friends with others. Girls cheerfully greeted each other, and Esther sat down at a table. Just at that moment, the waiter appeared with a tray. He put a closed bottle of water on the table and a glass. Rebecca frowned and asked venomously, "Does she really have to open the bottle and pour the water herself?" The guy blushed and apologized. He hurriedly opened the bottle, poured water into a glass, and left. Esther chuckled and whispered to her friend that the new waiter was very nice, and he blushed when she told him off. Rebecca hummed and gave her friend her opinion about the staff. She thought that the selection of restaurant's workers should be stricter, so that such rude people did not work here. The young women laughed and continued to chat about various trifles. They talked about the guys they knew, fashion, plans for the future. They both graduated high school this year and were going to study abroad. So now the girls were enjoying the fact that for the next 2 months, they could do whatever they wanted. After washing the bones of everyone they knew, the girls got bored. Among the rushing back and forth waiters, a newcomer caught Rebecca's eye again, and she, with a wink to her friend, suggested that they have fun. Esther followed Rebecca's glance and made a pitiful face and asked not to hurt him. But Rebecca raised an eyebrow in bewilderment and replied that there was no need to feel sorry for such people, and that she did not intend to offend anyone. She only wanted to make a joke. Rebecca made a sign to the waiter and demanded more water. 2 minutes later, there was water on the table. This time, the bottle was open, and the waiter immediately poured the glass. And then Rebecca called the man a fool and yelled that she had not asked to open it. A bewildered Michael tried to timidly object that she had scolded him last time for not opening the water. "It doesn't matter what happened last time," shouted Rebecca. "Now, I was going to take a bottle with me, and you ruined it. I don't want it open, now bring another water, and the cost of that bottle will be deducted from your paltry salary. Do you have any idea who I am? I'll tell my father to kick you out. I'm sick and tired of people's stupidity. That's it, get out of here." The man staggered back, then walked away quickly. The restaurant manager saw the whole scene, but he chose not to interfere. Esther frowned and only remarked that she thought Rebecca had overreacted. The man had done nothing wrong, and now he was going to get in trouble. Rebecca assured Esther that nothing bad was going to happen to him, and she wasn't going to complain to her father. She was just scaring him. The women laughed a little, remembering the poor guy's frightened face, and then went to the mall for some shopping. An hour later, Rebecca's father called, but the girl said she was a little busy right now, and then he just asked his daughter to come over early, notifying her that he would have a serious conversation with her. Rebecca lightheartedly disconnected the phone and continued to have fun with her friend. When she returned home in the evening, she went straight to her father's office. "Daddy, hi, I'm a little late, sorry. Do you know who Esther and I met today? The daughter of Mom's friend, Veronica. She still had those nasty redheads. Well, she was in the Maldives, and she just got back a couple of days ago. I was thinking maybe you could buy me a trip so I could get some rest before I go to university. Esther's going to ask her father, too, and we could go together. What do you think, Daddy?" Rebecca hugged her father, and then she sat down on the edge of his desk, waiting for an answer. Gregory looked sternly at his daughter and asked her to sit on the chair. The man was silent for a while, looking at his daughter. How arrogant and capricious she had become. He was always busy and didn't have enough time to bring her up properly. He tried to protect his daughter from everything bad in this world, but it turns out he only made things worse. "I got a call from the restaurant," he said. "Why did you make that disgusting scene with the waiter?" "Oh, come on." Rebecca rolled her eyes. I just put the negligent employee in his place, taught him respect for the customer. Nothing bad happened, but it was fun. You should have seen his face, Daddy. He was so scared. Gregory slammed his fist so hard on the table that Rebecca cried out in fright and huddled in her chair. I'm ashamed that you're my daughter, the man yelled. When did you become like this? Yes, it's my fault I didn't give you as much time as I should have, but I didn't teach you to treat people that way. You know, I was born into an ordinary family myself. Rebecca pressed her lip in offense and said, I'm sorry, Daddy, I won't do it again. But there was no regret in her voice. Gregory shook his head and sighed. No, my dear, you won't learn anything that way. But you must learn that you can't treat people like this, that the whole world doesn't revolve around you. I'm going to block all your cards right now, and I'm not going to give you any cash either. From tomorrow, you're on your own. You can eat at home, but you can't come to my restaurants. Let's see what you're like without my money. If you want things to go back to the way they were, then prove that you can be called human. Rebecca almost choked with indignation, but she didn't argue. She threw up her head proudly and went silently to her room. Gregory only shook his head in perplexity. The next morning, Rebecca went to meet her friend. She called a cab because her father forbade her to use his car, but she still had some pocket money, and the girl hoped it would be enough for a few days. The friends went to a small coffee shop for coffee. When Rebecca paid for her order, she suddenly realized for the first time in her life that coffee was too expensive. Before, the young woman hadn't paid attention to how much she spent, but now the money in her purse was running out too quickly. In the afternoon, she and Esther were having lunch at a small restaurant, and Rebecca asked her friend to pay for her. When Rebecca returned home in the evening, she counted the cash and realized that soon she would not even be able to drink coffee. She spent the whole next day at home, doing nothing. She wanted to meet Esther, but she had no money to go shopping in restaurants all day, and constantly borrowing from her friends seemed humiliating. After another day of forced confinement, Rebecca simply went outside and walked. She hung around until she reached the park. After a short walk, she sat down on a bench and watched the people who were scurrying around her. Of course, they were the most ordinary people who had to get up early in the mornings and go to work, where they had to do something during the shift and only then go home. All these men and women Rebecca had always considered very unhappy, and now, looking at their faces, she realized with surprise that there was no sorrowful expression on them. Why do so many smile so cheerfully? She asked herself mentally. I was always smiling, just the same, until my father took the money away from me. But I had a reason to be happy. What good do these people have? Suddenly, a girl her age sat down next to Rebecca and sighed, as if she was very tired. Rebecca carefully looked at the accidental neighbor. Once the girl noticed that she aroused interest, she cautiously asked, Is my mascara smeared? Rebecca shook her head in surprise, and the girl continued, You just looked at me like something is wrong with me. Rebecca unexpectedly to herself said frankly, My father thinks there's something wrong with me. With you? Her neighbor raised her eyebrows in surprise. I think you look fine, and seem to be perfectly sane. Look, if you don't have anything better to do, why don't you help me then? Will you pay me? Said Rebecca. The girl laughed. You're weird. Do you pay for help? You get thanks for it, but if you need money, I know a place where you can earn it. My name's Molly, and today she had been posting ads all day for a nursing home. Her mother worked there. The nursing home needed people to feed the elderly, clothe them, take them for walks, and read them books. Rebecca decided to try her hand at it. I guess it's not hard to take care of old people, she thought. At the interview with Molly's mother, Rebecca was told the working day started at 7 a.m. and the salary was paid once a month. This was okay for Rebecca. She suddenly wanted to prove to her father that she could work, and so she did not tell him ahead of time that she had found something to do. So Rebecca started coming to the nursing home every day and was shocked when she saw how many people needed help. The old people seemed so lonely. Everyone was dressed very modestly, and after the first day, Rebecca found the simplest t-shirt and jeans at home, realizing that it was better not to come to work in outfits from famous designers. At first, Rebecca felt a bit disgusted by her duties, but that quickly disappeared. She was struck by how kind, intelligent, and defenseless people were in this seemingly hopeless place. Some had no relatives. Some needed round-the-clock care. Some had come here of their own will in order not to be alone. And all these people were thankful for everything Rebecca and her colleagues were doing for them. Thank you, darling, she heard constantly. Thank you, sweetheart. What would we do without you? Rebecca felt needed and important for them. She suddenly found herself feeling incredibly satisfied that she was doing good, and people appreciated it. The month flew by unnoticed. Her father didn't ask where his daughter was every day, but he looked at her curiously. He expected her to start asking for money, but time passed and Rebecca did not come with requests. Finally, the young woman got her first paycheck. She almost cried because it was the first money she had ever earned on her own. And before, it seemed to Rebecca that she and the job simply were not compatible. At home, the first thing Rebecca did was go to her father's office. Gregory was sitting at his desk looking through some papers. Rebecca said hello and then put a white envelope in front of him. Gregory looked at his daughter over his glasses and asked what it was. Rebecca, looking at her father straight in the eye, said that it was her first salary for working in the nursing home. Gregory was silent for a long time and then gently took off his glasses and quietly asked her to tell him everything. Rebecca told with great enthusiasm about how she felt when everyone thanked her, how she was seen as kind and caring, and that in the beginning she had wanted to prove to her father that she wasn't nothing, but in the end she had managed to look at life from a different angle. At the end, the girl quietly added, "I realize how nasty I treated other people. It was so disgusting. Everyone must have hated me, but they had to do their job, and I never once even thanked them. Dad, I know what you meant. I'm sorry I embarrassed you like that. It won't happen again." After this conversation, father and daughter reconciled. Gregory was amazed at how different Rebecca had become. There was no arrogance in her eyes now, but an understanding of how hard life was sometimes for some people. She discovered that at times a person worked somewhere not because he was silly, but because of the circumstances, and now she was never lazy to smile and say thank you once in a while. One day Rebecca visited the same father's restaurant where she had made a scandal on her last visit. The receptionist was frightened when the young woman asked to call the waiter she had yelled at last time, but Rebecca simply politely apologized to Michael for her terrible act. The man was stunned by such a stark contrast between the old Rebecca and the one who was now standing in front of him and smiling. He smiled back at her uncertainly and then brought a menu. Soon Esther appeared, and the girls began to talk merrily as before. Only now Rebecca did not insult anyone. She knew that she would never behave improperly again.